you all for coming to the Wayside Cleanup Advisory Committee, and you're just continuing to talk, aren't you? Yes. Thank you. Okay, as you can see, we have a very full agenda today, so having gotten the video and the live streaming up and running, from now on, hopefully we're going to stay on schedule, and if we don't, you are fully authorized to yell and scream and just move us along and, so that we make sure that we get everything. First things first, the general program updates. A couple things. One, we have a new advisory committee member here, Martin Hilfinger. Hello. Welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you speak up and make your thoughts known and advise us. That's the whole thing.
Can he give a little bit of his background?
Yes,
for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, so
one thing. You have to use the microphone.
I didn't realize I'd be on stage here tonight. But so Marty Hilfinger, I work for Cumberland Farms. I'm an LSP and a professional geologist. I've been in Massachusetts since 2003, working under the MCP, and before that was in New York for a few years. So I'm going to be taking over for Ray Leather, who was on the committee for many years, trying to follow in his footsteps, and that's about it. So thank you.
Welcome. Right. So you represent, can you tell us which slot that was?
Small.
To the extent that we're doing slots and people are supposed to come from a particular point of view, it's small business.
Okay, thank you.
Although I would hope everybody is always representing. I'm watching. Oh, it just went dark. The feed just died. The feed just died.
Oh no.
Oh no, that was, I killed it and then I brought it back. It will come back.
Yeah.
Better, stronger, faster, with more pixels.
Go, Paul, go.
Yes. That's why we started it.
It'll be huge.
So, as Marty mentioned, he is essentially replacing, not that anybody could replace, Ray Leather, or Raymond, although we put Ray on this.
He's got so small.
He's gotten so small. We believe Ray is watching. So if you could all say thank you, Ray.
Let's do
And we'll be sending this to Ray, but I wanted to read it. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection recognizes and expresses sincere gratitude to Ray Leather for his many years of service to the MassDEP Wayside Cleanup Advisory Committee, providing sage advice with a collegial spirit on the implementation of the 20-minute program.
Very true.
And that is very true. And I'm very. I always feel like I've like been growing up in this program since I was a little kid, and one of the people who seems like he has always been there and has always been both giving great advice and what?
Your agenda doesn't match what was on the website, just saying.
For the record, Ray.
That was Lisa.
That was Lisa Kemp, who I'm sure you'll miss.
Not paying any attention.
We're all chipping in to get her plane ticket to Florida, so she can come visit.
I'll be there.
But Ray, I view Ray has always been there. It has been one of those people that we look to all of you for advice, and getting advice from Ray was a great experience because he, whether we agreed or disagreed, he was always very thoughtful, and as I said, and I think we stress it's very collegial. It was a pleasure to work with Ray, and we're great to miss you, Ray, and thank you for all you've done for us.
And Ray sent a message in because it's so complimentary, we'll read it. It was a great opportunity, pleasure, and privilege to be able to be part of MassDEP SAC team to collaborate on leading-edge public policy to protect public health, safety, welfare, and the environment. MassDEP has the most progressive and clearest path to assess, remediate, and bring contaminated sites to closure of all the states in which I have worked during my 42-year career. And much of the credit is due to the collaborative effort of MassDEP and the regulated communities share ideas and information to ensure regulations are practical, cost-effective, and protective of the environment. This respectful dialogue results in win-win solutions to the challenges encountered, which result in good public policy.
Keep talking for a second.
Well, I didn't want to be in this position to give another general program update on progress of policies. We have not yet finalized the AUL and historic fill guidance, but hope to be doing that before the next time we meet. What else do we have in the early part of the meeting, Paul?
Trichloroethylene. TCE updates.
I'll give that to you. Oh, can I just say something about today's agenda? Lisa, I do think it reflects what we sent out. Maybe slightly reshuffled, but it's very jam-packed, so I think we want to try as much as possible to stay to the timing. So we might move on if you have additional questions and see if we can get them at the end of the meeting if we can't finish up the discussions on time.
Okay, so the other big thing are trichloroethylene are sites, because if it wasn't on the agenda, and it's not, but I'm sure some people would ask.
Yes,
Yes, Susan asked. And we would do it in that case anyway. We are continuing to work on the TCE sites, as roughly, we're seeing a couple of things. One is perhaps half of the sites as we go into them, as we do more sampling, it's a small data set, so when I say roughly half the sites, some regions are seeing more, some regions are seeing a little bit less. But as we go into it, we're for the old sites and looking at the old sites, about half of them are coming up with no further concerns, if we can kind of rule it out fairly quickly. There are a bunch that are coming up with measurable levels of TCE, but not at imminent hazard levels, or in many cases not significant risk levels for TCE. So we're in fact seeing some residual levels, but not at levels that would require additional work. In going through that still remains, let me say maybe roughly a quarter of the sites, although the numbers are fluid because it's a small sample size. Where we go in and we do see elevated levels, and we're generally working with very well and cooperatively with the owners, the BRPs, the people who are being potentially exposed, and working with them. And so far we've gotten very good cooperation in kind of our joint efforts to identify any ongoing exposures and deal with them on a case-by-case basis. So far so good. We have, for instance, the Northeast region has about 30 sites that they're actively working on at the moment for TC, which is, in the grand scheme of things, for the number of sites where we have direct involvement, that's a fairly large number. So you can imagine that it's a large portion of their site oversight work. Similarly, the other regions, perhaps don't have as many, but the amount of time and effort that we're putting into TCE certainly rivals the other types of sites that we're working on. We'll talk a little bit more about the PFAS sites, which maybe aren't quite at the level of TCE at the moment, but coming on strong. And we have a number of 1,4-dioxane sites as well that have our attention. So part of what we're trying to do is work our way through these TCE sites, but it's balancing with the other always competing priorities that we have. But so far so good. I think we're finding less exposures of concern than we initially feared. And I think that's a good thing. One of the things we do want to write up, and we haven't yet for those who are going to ask, are the nature of these, and to try to draw some conclusions and try to identify the kinds of factors that would lead us to have greater concern, so that we can, kind of, as we work our way through what we've prioritized, at some point be able to figure out what are the important issues, what are the specifics for sites that would lead us to think that we would have more of a concern. So yes, that is something we want to do. No, we haven't had the time to do that yet.
Should I hold my question?
If it's a quick question,
It's a quick
and you
question.
expect, always a quick question.
So your approach to assessing the status of the quarter, et cetera, and so forth, what is it? Is it measurement? Is it going through what the guidance would say? Will that be available?
The process that we're going through, I think we've talked about before, and I'm pretty sure it's written down somewhere.
Okay.
But it is going through the files, and then going out, and we are offering to do assessment activities, doing the initial ones on the state's dime. Many people have chosen not to do that if they're willing to do it themselves, but to do like indoor air sampling in order to actually measure the concentrations. And we're willing to do that initial investigation in order to make sure it gets done in a timely manner. And it's not a question of the money, it's is there an exposure?
I probably don't need a mic. Super fast question. Is DEP typically in the cases where they're doing the assessment rather than, another party, are they going right to indoor air sampling, or are they also taking subslab or groundwater?
The question is where DEP is going in and doing sampling, whether it's just indoor air sampling or is it the groundwater, the subslab. The first, I would say it probably varies on a case-by-case basis, depending partly on the information that is already available, how recent it is, et cetera, et cetera. So no, global answers to this, but our first cut is let's go answer the question of is there an exposure happening? Is there a complete exposure pathway? So we are going to do the indoor air sampling, and then it becomes a question of will we also do other kinds of sampling and at what time? And I think in general, if we find indoor air impacts and kind of bring, and we would at that point expect kind of cooperation and participation of other parties, and then that will work out kind of who does what additional site assessment.
Okay, so I know it's a packed agenda. Next time, we should talk about the recent experience that DEP had with trans 1,2-DCE that was found in some condos, and the pros and cons of not taking an iterative approach. But I think it would be really interesting for people to hear that.
There are a lot of good case studies that can come out of this, and the one that the people online couldn't hear is Lisa wanted to kind of flag the case of 1,2-DCE.
Trans 1,2-DCE.
Trans 1,2-DCE in condos and issues that may arise by kind of the shortcomings of not doing the iterative approach, etc.
Very quick.
Liz is going to yell at me when I have to absolutely stop.
What's the total number of your universal sites and how close are you to getting to that?
The total number, I think we identified probably about 100 or so that were kind of higher priority, and I don't have any. There are no exact figures. I think I've said that before.
Halfway through?
And I would say roughly maybe halfway through. And one of the things we're hoping is that as we kind of work through, we adjust the number that are of concern because we're learning things along the way. And make more or less.
So one of the questions that came up when we first talked about this and when John presented was the sort of environmental justice issues and a lot of focus on Newton and the question about, and the department said, well, we don't have all the resources. You say you're doing a great effort. Has there been any change in that? Any focus on more economically disadvantaged communities that might have this exposure? Never mind.
Well, no, it's an
important issue.
it is an important issue, and the department that is one of the things that go into the evaluation and on prioritization. Okay. But it is not the only thing, because then you get, you can't choose something simply on location, disregarding what you know about the site and the severity of the potential exposures. So I think the primary thing that is driving a lot of our evaluations is how likely is it, based upon what we know about the site, that people are being exposed to levels that would be of great concern. And we are not going to avoid an investigation in one area, one location, that has a high level of concern just because it's not a disadvantaged area. So it's something that, everything else being equal, one of the things that we'd be looking at is who has the resources to do things. Are there PRPs that are willing and able to do it, and we can focus elsewhere? And when you look at it that way, that usually means that we focus more of our resources in areas where people don't have the ability or the knowledge or the resources to do it. But it's not the only thing that we consider. And our primary goal in all of this is protection of public health and trying to identify and prioritize based upon risk.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wendy,